Welcome to Champion Stepdad Podcast. We are exploring the unique role of stepdads and how to apply performance psychology skills to become better father figures and role models. Building a community focused on empathy and accountability. My name is Neil Wattier. I'm a stepdad. I'm also a resilience trainer and a performance consultant, encouraging you to join the Champion Stepdad Facebook group and build your band of brothers. This week, I am joined by another member of the Champion Stepdad community, Jed Shaffer. He is the host of the Gamer Parents Strategy Guide podcast. He's been a gamer for 40 years, married for 18 years, and a parent for 15. He has 3 boys. He has twin 15-year-olds, one of them with special needs. He also has a 9-year-old, and all of them are gamers. This is a great conversation, and I'm really really happy that Jed chose to join me on the podcast because not only does he talk about gaming and connecting with his kids through their gameplay, but he also gets into some pretty significant detail about his past and also his experience with special needs child and their family overall struggling with mental health issues. And I think it's a very touching conversation. He is very vulnerable with his experiences, with his struggles. And it's also encouraging because it reinforces the idea that you don't always have to have all the answers. You don't have to have it all together. But what you do need to do is you need to step up and handle what is given to you. And it's not always the idea that you have to accept what you've been given. It's the awareness of when you just need to buckle down and handle your business, and when is it okay to take a step back and say, what do we need to do to change some things? Some things you can change, some things you can't. And sometimes, being a strong father figure, being a strong spouse is just doing what needs to be done. And I think that's a really strong message here. It doesn't mean that you should accept everything that's given to you, but sometimes it can't be changed. And you're going to hear Jed's story and the struggles that they've had with the family situation that they have, and the fact that there wasn't much that they could do to change. It was just moving forward with what they have been given. And I'm very encouraged by Jed and his approach to being a dad and being a spouse, and the things that he's done to move forward and be the best father figure and spouse and man that he can be. I'm here with Jed Shaffer. Jed, thanks a lot for joining me on the Champion Stepdad podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
Great, man. I'm really excited to have you on here. And I think one of the main reasons why is I'm looking for great conversations. And it's not always somebody with a book to promote or some kind of program to promote. I think some of the funnest conversations that I've had are generic guys like you and I. Like, I'm a dad. I've got experiences I want to share. I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm just trying to share what my experiences have been like. And that's what kind of caught my eye about, you and I have been trying to do this for a while. We finally got dialed in. So I really appreciate your time. We talked a little bit about some of the challenges you face. Just give a quick introduction about yourself first. I want to know who you are, and then we'll talk more into like challenges that you're getting into.
Sure. So I live in or around Detroit, Michigan. I've been married for 18 years, together for 20. To far as I'm concerned, the greatest woman that walks the planet. She'd call me biased. I have 3 boys. I have twin 15-year-olds and a 9-year-old. We're a very active family. One of the older boys is in baseball. The youngest is in karate. The oldest boy is born with some special needs. Most of us, with the exception of my wife, pretty much all of us are gamers. Yeah, that's pretty much that's me in a nutshell.
And you have your own podcast and and a Facebook about your Facebook is the Gamer Parent Strategy Guide. Tell me more about that, and then talk about the podcast that you do.
Sure. So the Gamer Parent Strategy Guide is a podcast that's about being a gamer and a parent. I started it because I'm I'm a member of Generation X. I'm that late cusp 77. But I was the generation that grew up with the Atari 2600 and the NES, and our parents didn't have video games. They didn't grow up with that. So they just threw an NES at us and said, here, and play with that. And hopefully it'll develop hand-eye coordination and he could become a concert pianist or a heart surgeon right. or something. Neither one of those happened. So we're the first generation that grew up playing games. And now we have kids that are playing games. And some of us, and future generations, the millennials, the Gen Zs, some of them are gamers, some of them are not, but a lot of our kids are. It's the fastest growing media industry on the planet. It now makes more money than movies, TV, music, books, anything. There's no roadmap for being a parent and either being a parent of a gamer or being a parent and a gamer. No, and the media that you see outside, turn on CNN, you turn on Fox, whatever it may be, read the newspapers. You've got someone out there who's saying that Grand Theft Auto is the reason why carjacking is up in Cleveland, or Doom is the reason that some kid went and, shot 9 kids at a school. I want to be the positive voice, the one who says, hey, I'm a parent, I'm a gamer, these things aren't evil. They're just, maybe you just have a misunderstanding about them. Let me dispel the myths. Let me clarify the misconceptions, and let me help you understand what it is when your kid is a gamer or when you're a gamer and a parent. Maybe my experience will help your experience.
And every generation faces the same thing. There's some kind of criticism of this generation is going to ruin us, and this is why. I mean, I remember being in grade school and people were all upset about Bart Simpson. Like, that was a real thing. People were so concerned about the influence Bart Simpson was going to have on us. And there was, role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. There was video games. There was heavy metal, like, the whole play the record player backwards. Like, that happened in our generation. And it was so absurd. I'm sitting there playing these games and I'm like, even as a kid, I had that thought, like, I get it. Like, I have influencers, but ultimately, like, I'm making my own decisions here, and we've got kids that, they play Call of Duty and they play Grand Theft Auto and they play, I don't know, whatever the, mafia informant game. I don't even know which one it is, and I'll sit there and watch him play it, and he does all the stuff, right? He's killing cops and all that stuff because that's what the game does. But we have conversations and we have good relationships, so that I just make sure that, like, you're not going to carry that over. Like, you're really a good kid and you're just playing a game and you realize it's just a game.
Yeah. And the whole media the argument about media and what it does to kids. I mean, that's not even new for when we were kids. You go back to the 60s and what were they complaining about? The Beatles, the Doors, Jimi Hendrix, and the hippie life and the hippie mentality. You go back to the 50s and it was Elvis shaking his hips on Ed Sullivan. The 20s, the flappers and juke joints and jukeboxes. This stuff has been around for a century at least. There's always every generation, every decade has a new bugaboo, and video games are the latest bugaboo, probably again. I mean, it's happened once before, but now, I mean, when you've got video games that look like Call of Duty and Uncharted and Grand Theft Auto that are damn near photorealistic, the graphic, the people almost look just like real people. The situations are real and they're down to earth, and the stories are so rich and vibrant that the situations feel real and people are freaking out about it. And they don't understand that this really, I mean, if you look at it from a certain point of view, Call of Duty and American Sniper aren't all that far apart. Yeah, one's a video game, one's a movie, but the only difference is that you're in control of one, but in the end, it's still the same result. It's all about soldiers and doing something in a situation that a soldier needs to do. So it's blaming the media and blaming what kids ingest is a way to take the focus off the people that are really in control of kids' lives, and that would be the parents.
Yeah, and that's the big victim mentality of who can I blame because my kid's a shithead, right? Like, who can I put blame on outside of myself for the fact that my kid won't listen to me? Well, there's more to it than that, and victim mentality is. I would go as far as to say never a good thing. I mean, even in the worst scenarios, we've heard people talk about, these horrible situations, and they make the most of it, and I'm not going to minimize anybody's experiences, but victim mentality is simply looking exterior, looking out for something to place blame because things just didn't go your way.
Yeah. I mean, I could go into detail about my screwed up childhood, and everyone's got a childhood that's got something dark in it. No one grew up in Little House on the Prairie. We've all got things that contributed to become who we are in our childhood that turned us into the adults we are. But those, you still have choices. You still make choices about it. I witnessed domestic violence as a kid. For 10 years, I watched my dad abuse my mom. I could have been a gangbanger. I could have beat the crap out of every girlfriend I ever had. I could treat my wife like a punching bag. I made the choice not to. I am saying I'm not a victim. I am not going to point the finger and say, you're the reason, that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. The choices I make as a father and as a human being are mine and mine alone. And like you said, people are just looking for a reason to. They don't want to admit that maybe they have made a few mistakes and missteps. My mother-in-law used to be a preschool teacher, and I cannot tell you how many kids that she had. She would have to talk to the parents and go, "Look, I think your kid needs to be tested for being on the spectrum, or I think he's got a developmental delay, and you may want to hold him back from kindergarten for a year," something like that. And I cannot tell you how many parents are like, no, not my kid. No, my kid's perfect. He's an angel. No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with him. Like, no. Every kid is different. It's not an insult. It's not an attack on your parenting. Don't play the victim. Be a parent.
If anything, it's empowering you as a parent, because if you are to test for things like that and realize that that's an issue, and we're going to get into some of that with some of the challenges that you face. It's empowering because now you're educated, and now you can help that child, right? Because if you deny it, now you're almost an additional burden because you're not helping that child in the areas that they really need help.
Yeah. Every parent wants their kid to be special, but I hate to sound caustic about it. Some kids got to make my Baconator at Wendy's. Not every kid gets to be president. You're not president. I'm not president. Our parents told us we could be, but both of us are not currently the president of the United States. So,
and neither do I have any desire to do that job.
Oh God, no. That I don't feel like aging 30 years and 4. But admitting that your kid is not the greatest shining star in the world doesn't mean that your kid is bad. It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. It just means that you have a realistic expectation of both them and you, and you're viewing things from a realistic point of view. Treating them like they're a Fabergé egg or giving them a blue ribbon, saying, well, there was a line in a Carlin routine. They don't tell anyone that they're in last place anymore. It's just, you're the last winner. No, that doesn't help kids.
I remember being last place when I was in grade school, and I was very aware that I was last place.
Right. You realized, hey, I didn't do good. I lost. I sucked. And you didn't like it. And you got up and you dusted yourself off and you said, I ain't going to let that happen again.
So
God
you
forbid we
are
let kids do that.
so you're specifically a video game, because I know there's a lot of type of gamers. So I just wanted to clarify, the tabletop role playing, video games. So what do you get into? What do you like
I,
playing?
I'm a video gamer,
Okay.
and pretty much exclusively a single player game. I think I have a PlayStation Plus subscription to play online, and quite literally the only thing that I've ever used it for is Tetris Effect has an online mode where you can kind of do like head to head playing Tetris, and that's literally the only thing I've ever done it for. I'm not a competitive person by nature. I treat video games like puzzles, so I like solving the puzzle and going through the story. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Like I play Call of Duty with the older son, and then we play Plants vs Zombies with the younger one. I think it's basically the same game, but
Right.
one's Plants and Zombies, and it's making fun of the serious one. But it's great. I love it because it's just a way for me to connect. Even if, say, Jackson, the older one, doesn't want to play, he's like, no, I just want to play solo. I'm playing online with my friends. I'm like, okay, cool. Can I sit here and talk to you? And he's like, yeah, man. He's check out this gun and check out this skin and check out the attachments that I did. Like, it's a way to connect with them. So, I mean, if I was to say, okay, cool, you're playing with friends, don't walk away, and that's a missed opportunity. Even if it's 5 minutes of him just showing me what he's doing, he's interested in showing me what he's doing. And therefore there's that additional connection. You can't overlook opportunities like that.
Right. I can't tell you how many times that I've been walking down the hall and my kids have video game systems in their room. I know some people frown upon that. With 4 kids, or 3 kids and an adult, we all play games. It's a better solution to have multiple TVs and multiple systems, because otherwise we're going to be on top of each other for it. But I can't tell you how many times I've walked by their room and one of them's like, "Hey, Dad, come check it out. Come check out this new car that I got in GTA." And he's really excited. It means something to him to show me the Maserati or the Bugatti that he got, or that he bought a casino and he's got people that are coming in and playing casino games. That means something to him. So it means something to me. And if we get the opportunity to play a game together, cool. There are some party games that we play together. The Jackbox games, like You Don't Know Jack, Drawful, stuff like that. Rock Band is a great party game that you can play with a family, because who doesn't want to sit there with a guitar and pretend that they're a rock star?
A rock star.
Yeah. Mario Party, even. Or Mario Kart. Those are really great games to play with everyone. As much as my 15-year-olds love Call of Duty and GTA, if we as a group sit down and play Mario Kart, they get into it because it gets addictive. There's an adrenaline rush to it, and like you said, you can't pass up those opportunities.
Yeah, we used to do with the 3 older that are 20s now. It was the Wii. You sit in there and you do bowling and jousting and ping pong or whatever it was, and it was just fun. Like, it kind of there was a way of kind of, because our thing in my house with me and my brothers was always ping pong and pool. I wasn't great at pool, but I was great at ping pong. And so then I started playing my kids, and the kids were like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Like, you're too good. I tried to bring it down a little bit, but I'm like, all right, well, now the Wii's got it. Let's go knock out some Wii. And they were like, oh, they can play it for a little while and they can figure out some tricks. And yeah, it was great. We had a lot of fun with the Wii. In fact, I've actually started looking to see if I could find maybe an older one that still works, and maybe bring it home and introduce it to the young boys. I'm not sure how that would go over, but I think it'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, my youngest has a Switch, but we've still got a Wii in our basement, and he loves playing it because I think, one, just the silliness of moving around. You play bowling and you're whipping your arm forward to throw the ball. It's a way to be physical while playing games, which he loves being physical. But I think the other thing that really makes it fun is that the control scheme of it allows you. It's a great leveler. Everyone can swing their arm forward to bowl, or move their arm from side to side to play ping pong or tennis, or do the punching motion for boxing. Anybody can do that. Not everybody can be fast enough with their fingers to get that spinning headshot without a scope in Call of Duty, or race through the streets of San Francisco in GTA. But anybody can swing a remote and pretend that they're bowling.
Yeah, that's true. So let's get into a little bit more of you because I know there's more to this story. I just wanted to have some fun with this.
Sure.
But the other conversation that I wanted to have is you have some, and I don't want to say you have had, like you still have some significant challenges that you face as a dad associated with your children. I want to give you the opportunity to tell your story. Where would you want to start with something like that?
Hey, let's start with the oldest boy, because the oldest boy is probably the greatest number of challenges. Um, and just to head start for listeners, that's not a judgment. That's, as I lay it out, you'll see why. So he was born with a syndrome that's called Goldenhar syndrome. It is a chromosomal anomaly. It is similar. It's on the scope of what causes cleft lip and palate, but it has a large number of symptoms that can be a part of it. Uh, One of the mandatory symptoms that defines it against other things is what are called hemispherical vertebrae, which is where the vertebrae don't fuse into a circle, but they stay as kind of like two little facing crescent moons. That can cause back pains. What's it called when there's a curvature of the spine? Scoliosis, which he has. It also, cleft lip and palate is normal, all very common in it. Vision problems, hearing impairment, craniofacial growth issues. Some kids can be born with missing cheekbones, missing jaw bones, missing eyes. Organ issues, kidney, liver, whether they malfunction or don't function at all. There's 30 or 40 different symptoms that they can be born with. My boy Roland was born. He has limited to no vision in his right eye. He is profoundly, moderately profound hearing loss, which is on a scale of 1 to 6, which is how they measure hearing loss. A 4 is the higher the number, the worse. He's got a 4 in both ears. He doesn't have any organ issues. He was developmentally challenged because of hearing loss and sight issues, though. So it took him a while to catch up in school because of that, and he does have some speech issues. He's missing a bone, part of his jawbone, towards the left side. Yeah, towards the left side. So from the back corner of the jaw up to about an inch or two before the chin, he's missing that section. A good 2-3 inches section of bone there that is underdeveloped. So his chin, if you think how your chin and your nose are perfectly aligned, his isn't. His chin is like shifted over about 2 inches to the left. Cleft lip and palate, so he's got teeth and jaw alignment issues. So he's had, because of that, he's had 14 surgeries from birth to now. He just had his 14th surgery the week before Halloween. That was to implant his second hearing aid behind his right ear. That's a challenge. He's still got many surgeries to go. He's still got a lot of dental work to be done. He's still got a gap in the upper jawline to fix. He could have some cosmetic surgeries done to correct the symmetry of his nose if he wanted. But that causes that's challenging in and of itself as a parent. That causes further challenges in him because, as a little kid, he wonders why was he born different, especially since he has a twin brother who's born, quote unquote, normal. So there's that issue. And as he's gotten older, that's been one of many contributing factors to him having clinical depression. So he's had to combat that. He also had ADHD for a while. I think the depression's kind of counterbalanced that now, which is, I mean, the ADHD was hard to deal with. Depression's hard to deal with either. So it's like we traded one challenge for another on that one. But so depression that brings about its own issues. he's not dedicated to school. He's not dedicated to life. Think about anyone that you've ever known with mental health issues and depression. Well, now make it a 15-year-old and you've got craniofacial anomalies. It's just one more thing on his plate that he's just too young to have to deal with, but he's gotta, and we've got to try and help him through it.
Yeah,
And
man,
then
that's a lot. Like I know, and
yeah.
I know there's more you can go into, and I want to hear it, but I just want to pause for a second. Like,
Sure.
man, you've got a lot that as a dad. I mean, on top of all the normal stuff that men and dads face and spouses face is, and to hear you talk is, I get it that right now you're just kind of going through, like you're just listing it out. Like you've done this so long, you're just kind of listing it out. But through that, and then the conversations that we've had previous, I just sense a lot of care and concern and love behind it, that like, this is just my life. Like, what am I going to do about it? Right. It's that kind of that resilience factor of, I got it. Like it sucks, but we got to do something about it. And so, first of all, it's, amazing that he has somebody like you in his life who has seen the things that you've seen, and you're making the deliberate choice to give him a life that was different from that, on top of all the other care that you're giving him. So I just wanted to throw that out there, man. Good for you.
Thank you. It really is it has really put one foot in front of the other. We didn't even know that he had it at birth. Like, it's something that can't be tested for. There is no genetic test for it. It's quite literally, the doctor goes, okay, I see symptom A, B, C, D. This fits the mold. But there's just no human way right now to test for it. And because he was head down, face back when he was in utero, the ultrasounds didn't even pick up on his cleft lip and palate. We didn't get it. We didn't notice it until literally he was born. And because we didn't know what he had at first, we spent the first week waiting for a genetic test to come back to find out if he had a different genetic issue, which was called trisomy 13, and that's fatal. That's like, we asked what would happen if he came back with positive for that. And the doctor said quite bluntly, you take him home and you love him as much as you can for the 6 months that you'll have him. And we spent the first week wondering if our first baby was a time bomb.
Wow, that's incredible.
And when we got the news, it was relieving, but it wasn't, because it was this relief of, oh, he'll live, but now, oh my God, he's got to live with this. And now we've got to figure out a path forward. And that's not what you want for your first baby. You want your first baby to be this joyous bundle thing, this perfect little angel that you take home and you love and you feed and you change his diapers, and you don't think about the hard part of parenting. You just think that your first baby is going to be this magic little heaven sent bundle. And when it isn't, that just it changes your outlook. It changes kind of the way that you parent. So to lighten the mood for a moment, because he's had so many surgeries, we've kind of been toughened up. We've kind of got a mentality of, rub some dirt on it, get up and move, because you go through surgeries, you go through enough of them. Surgeries never get any easier, but you stop worrying about the little things. So when our littlest was born, I had to step out of the room for a few minutes. And then when I came back, they were giving him the B12 shot, and they were doing it in the heel. And the nurse goes, okay, Dad, you just came in just in time. And she explains it. She's like, he's going to cry. And even though it's going to sting a little bit, you have to know that this is for his own good. And I looked at her and I went, ma'am, My 6 year old has had like 8 surgeries. I could not give I couldn't care less about him, this baby crying because you're giving him a B12 shot.
It's
And
all
she just,
relative.
right. And she just had this look in her face as if I just suggested that, I don't care if you cut him in half. It's like, no, it's a shot. Who
Right.
cares? He'll live. I know that it's not a fatal wound. So yeah, they're never easier to get through, but they also kind of toughen you up to the little things.
So what does that look like for you? Because one of the things that I do in my resilience, my performance training is I make sure to let people know that just because you make it through something doesn't mean you're stronger on the other side. So let's talk about what has that process been like for you, your spouse, your children, both collectively and individually, and then maybe even like you and your spouse. Like how do you work through to overcome to make sure that you are growing through this adversity, but then also keeping your head on your mental health, you and your spouse, your marriage. What's that been like for you?
So that's a lot of constant challenges, to be honest. Part of it is my wife also has clinical depression, so she was already, she could already be prone to have moments, days where she doesn't want to get out of bed, where the world feels like it's crashing down just because it's Tuesday. So that's already a challenge that she faces. And then you add on top, you have this child that is going to need 21 surgeries by the time they hit 21. And is going to be playing catch up in school for much of his life. That's a lot. That's a lot to be thrown at you a day after you've had your first kid. So it's been challenge, as a husband and wife. I think it definitely gave us. We were already, we'd already been married 2 years. We'd already been together 4, but it bonded us in another way because not only do we have the special needs boy, golden heart syndrome, the odds are like 1 in 250,000 or something like that. It's lottery odds. So you don't run into many people who even know what it is, let alone many people who have it. Like, I think my wife belongs to a golden heart group on Facebook, and I think they only have a couple hundred members. So we bonded because we're the only people that we know who are going through this firsthand. So that has been of great solace to both of us, I would say, knowing that we both understand where each other's coming from, and the struggles with it. For the kids and for the family unit as a whole, it has its challenges. Like, it doesn't really seem to affect my younger one as much. He really, because of the age difference, they live in separate worlds in a way. Even though they live in the same house, you can't be 15 and 9 and have friend overlap. So they kind of operate in separate worlds, even though the younger one worships his older brothers. But it doesn't really seem to affect him much, and it doesn't make any mention of Roland looking different. For Roland's twin brother, it kind of goes back and forth. There are days where he's very sympathetic and where he's trying to help his brother get out and socialize and be that normal teenager that goes to parties and talks to girls and does what 15-year-old boys do. And there are times where he doesn't care and he's callous about it. And I think that's because he's so close to it. Sometimes it just doesn't register. It's like that. What's that saying? Too close to the forest to see the trees.
Right. Yeah.
I think sometimes he gets that he forgets that, and because he's so close, he can't have sympathy for it anymore. But then Roland will have a surgery, and all of that's dropped. Any brotherly animosity is dropped, and suddenly it's, does he need a bowl? Is he going to throw up because of the anesthesia? Can I go to 7-Eleven and get him a Slurpee to make him feel better? Do you need your pillow fluffed? Suddenly that brotherly love comes out because he sees, oh yeah, he's human, and this is a problem that he's going to have, and I'll never know what that feels like, and suddenly he's sympathetic. So yeah, on the brother front, it's weird. Like it seems like it's a constantly shifting dynamic.
Hmm. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's a lot. I was raised with four brothers, and nobody had any significant health issues. My mom she went to school as a special education teacher, so we were around the community, and I experienced a lot of, especially youth, from babies up to my age at the time, young teenager, who, we were around the special education classes. And then my mom stopped being a teacher because she didn't like the education community, but she still was a emergency foster care mother. We were an emergency foster care home. And so sometimes we would take kids in, sometimes just until they could go back to their home or until they could get placed into a permanent location. So we saw a lot of different, everything from, the mental deficiencies, the physical deficiencies, the sexual assault, the just the behavioral issue that I think at that time we didn't even realize that it was ADHD. It was just, they were a crazy kid with shitty parents.
Right.
So, I experienced a lot of that. And so hearing you talk about that, I do share a lot of empathy with you, because man, that is a whole lot. Like, you hear people talk about, I've got a child with ADHD, right? We had a child that came through who was a shaken baby who had, a trach, and, that situation, that little boy was a lot. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to think of, is taking care of Perry at the time was like the closest thing that I can imagine, that all the different things, all the compounding features and the recurring surgeries, just trying to imagine, what's that like, what it's like. And, I mean, it is difficult. And there is just something about that mentality of, we just got to do this thing.
Right. Yeah. You don't have a choice. Really, it's not like you can, it's not like the baby's a car and you can trade it in for another model. You get the baby that you're born with, and because his condition has so many different facets to it, he's had different kinds of surgeries. He had a repair of his lip. He's had several different teeth pulled. He's had a temporary repair of his palate. He had what's called jaw distraction, where because of the bone the bone matter that's missing on the left side, what they do is they put these bolts that kind of look like Frankenstein bolts that come in from the back and connect to the corners of it, and you tighten, and they're connected to a plate, and you tighten them, and that pulls the jaw out and readjusts it. And you can do one side more than the other, so that way it'll come more into alignment. And he had one of those when he was 6 months, if I remember correctly, because at the time his jaw was set so far back it was basically resting on his trachea, and he was not breathing at night. That's so unique. I'd never even heard of jaw distraction surgery before.
Never heard of that.
Right. It's not a common thing. And he's had 2 different hearing aid surgeries. I'm forgetting, like 14 surgeries. I'm sure my wife knows them all, but for me, 14 surgeries, they all just start to, they just blend in with each other, because it's just one after another. I can't think of all of them, but it's because there being so many of them, it's always been a moving target. What's the surgery this year? How many are we having this year? And it never gets easier when he's going through it, but you don't have a choice. We just got to do it.
Yeah, you just keep going forward, man. It's like I said, one foot at a time. So, yeah. Talking to a community where, the creation of this community was about empathy and accountability, right? So who do you turn to support? Because I know sometimes even as a teenager helping raise some of these children, it can be time consuming. It can be very stressful. You sometimes feel guilty if you do step away. How do you do self-care?
That's, in a house with three kids, that's not easy. Um, Especially with having a spouse who battles depression, and then a boy, the Roland battling depression. Um, I don't want to say it's like walking on emotional eggshells, but there's a challenge to it. There's negotiation. Let's call it that. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of time for self-care, because I'm spending a lot of time making sure caring for everyone else. Carry a lot. So because of that, it's kind of find it where you can, little moments. My in-laws do live very close. They live about 15 minutes away. And both my mother and father-in-law and my sister and brother-in-law all within a stone's throw. So my kids have grown up very close to their aunt and uncle, very close to their grandma and grandpa. So it's very easy for us to be able to go, hey, we need a date night. Would you mind? Would you mind watching the little one? The younger two can stay home, or they can go if they want. But because of that, those are the people we tend to lean on if we need to get some space. And I will say too, it's taken me a long time to realize it. But because at the start of my marriage, it was, we have to do everything together. We have to be, husband and wife have to be linked, and we have to do everything. And it took me a long time to realize, no, it's fine. You want to go see Lion King on Broadway? Have fun. Couldn't care less. I will stay home and watch Friday the 13th Part 6. It's okay to have separate interests. It's okay to split apart on occasion, because you know that you have interests that just don't mix. So there are times when she wants to indulge in something that she likes and I don't like it. Go right ahead. And it's vice versa. So we're pretty comfortable parting ways on things and using that as our self-care. She wants to go see a play, or she wants to go see a movie that she likes and I don't, or she wants to go to her parents and I want to go see a friend. We're perfectly fine with that. So it's finding those little moments, I guess, is what I'm saying, is just hunting for them and embracing them and doing what you like, and not worrying about, take an hour, read a book, watch a movie, play a game.
Play some video games.
Yep.
And I think that's a good way to roll it right back into where we started is, I would imagine that's probably part of it too, is, video games has been something that you've done for a long time, but it also could be, it's a release. It's a take my mind off of everything and completely immerse myself in this video game and just have some fun for a little bit, and not everything has to be this amazing 10-step process of resilience. Sometimes I just need an hour to just cope and just be by myself.
Some guys go to the bar and crack 3 or 4 beers. Some guys go to the lake and fish for trout, and I stay home with the PlayStation and try and escape from Hades, or try and find the lost city of gold, or whatever the game quest may be. And it's just a little bit of time to myself to take a breather and not think about anything else, just indulge in some me time. And it's a joyous release. And and if I can connect with my boys doing it as well, that's all the better.
All just a little bit of extra bonus on top of it. That's cool, yep. Man. So the Gamer Parent Strategy Guide, is that a page, or is that like a private group on Facebook?
It's a page. It's the page. All of my podcast all updates for the podcast and column, because I also write a column. same name. Anytime I do a new one, it gets posted up there. I'm going to start doing YouTube shorts as well. Those like little 60-second video, kind of like TikTok things where no, it might just be a quick reflection on a news story or something like that.
Right
And
on.
those will post there.
Awesome, man. So yeah, you're interested, you're a gaming parent, or you're looking for ways to connect with the kids. I wouldn't call myself a gamer parent, but I love hopping on some Call of Duty or some, the Plants versus Zombies or whatever the game is that they're playing, and make a fool of myself. In fact, my gamer handle is Dad's Can't Game. So whatever it takes, man. Get your self-care in, connect with some people. And I think this is a good story in resilience. I think it's a great story in humility. And, from the times that we've talked and then the time that we've been on this call, I just want to give you kudos and say thank you for stepping up as a dad, like doing the things that need to be done. Like, it's not easy. I get it. But, the accountability part, what are you going to do about it? This is what you've been given. What are you going to do about it? So good for you.
Thank you. If I could just say, when our twins were born and Roland was born with what he had, that's the day I learned what being a man was all about. It's not about
Amen to that.
It's not about macho. It's not about how much you could bench press or what truck you drive or, can I grit my teeth through this tattoo, or it's not about anything childish like that. It's about, do I have what it takes to do what I need to do, even if I don't want to do it?
Damn.
Yeah.
Man, I can't think of a better way to end it. That's awesome, man. Like, how's that for accountability, guys? That's what a man is. Like, you step up to what you've been given. Some things you can change, some things you can't. And, Jed, man, this has been a great conversation, very humbling, very enlightening, but also very encouraging that there's guys like you out there doing it and doing it right.
And I hope that if there's one guy out there that's doubting, or, one guy that's out there questioning, I hope I give, because I sure as hell didn't think I could do this. And here I am. So if I can, you can do it. Now, I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy.
Aren't we all? That's awesome, brother. I really appreciate your time today.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.